I'm going to take you on a journey through time and space, right here on Earth, through history, culture, and architectural design, in our beautiful city we call Milwaukee.
And I'm going to take you on an adventure into one of the most interesting buildings in the city. We're going to seek out hidden spaces and unique places through history and architecture.
Ready?
Let's go. The Milwaukee Public Library is one of the largest libraries in the country. It was designed by the architectural firm Ferry & Class in an 1894 competition and completed by 1899. There's a lot of history and hidden mysteries in this library. Let's go explore. It's beautiful under this dome in the library's rotunda. I feel like I've been transported to France or Italy. This scaffolding is up to ensure the longevity of this historic building. Renovations are being made to restore some of the old tile inlay. The hand-laid tile is intricate in design and precision. You can see beautiful creatures in it as it spirals into the center. The marble pillars are a neo-Renaissance reflection and more feminine side of the exterior's grandeur. Even Tiffany lights adorn the ceilings in the rotunda. As you can see, the dome is an architectural masterpiece. It is actually two domes, the exterior dome and the interior dome. Light shines through the exterior dome and through the top of the interior one. With the light bulb being patented by Thomas Edison in 1879, it was clearly the excitement of the time to implement them into architectural design. The gold leaf elegantly decorates these truly Renaissance-style walls and ceilings. Eagles stand watch over the rotunda from high above. Now let's take a closer look at the inner workings of the double dome structure. We're about to head up the spiral staircase to check out the space between the two domes. Then we can check out the roof. Between the domes is a scaffolding path to walk on, and you can see the daylight coming in from the outer dome. But without the daylight, it gets pretty dark in here. Outside and up close to this outer dome is a truly amazing experience.
Benjamin Franklin, my favorite historical figure. Not only was he a super genius inventor and a founding father of our country, but he was also a revolutionary. This marble staircase is pre-elevator glamour. There are beautiful paintings all over these walls. These rare books are encased for their protection. That's a room I'd like to get into for a day. It's climate controlled and sealed up tight. For some of the books, you have to have the librarian turn the pages for you. White gloves for real, people. All this marble was hand-cut by some of our Milwaukee grandfathers. This can really make you appreciate our technological advances. But it's sort of romantic. Floor. These ships are replica models of the real ships that have traveled on the Great Lakes and our own Lake Michigan. In 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk deep into Lake Superior under very tragic and mysterious circumstances. It happened so fast, there was not even a distress call. Sadly, all 29 people on board perished. No bodies were recovered. This tile was laid by an artist named Steve Farron. The Arts, Music, and Recreation Room is a very unique space in itself. Here, you can find so many things too, from the Wisconsin Architectural Archives to the sheet music dating back to 1850. And then there's this performing arts history, and the list goes on. Have I taken a drink of something to make me smaller? Maybe Alice gave me something to make me too big now. I feel like a giant.
Yes, 60s.
Here come my friend the bear. Jack, hi, offset.
This is new. The Milwaukee Central Library even has a green roof. Even though it's cold out, I have to see this. This green roof is a great way to implement new water technology to help reduce the overflows, pollution, and outdated water system issues we still have in place in the city.
It's early spring still, and it's cold and windy, but you can see some of the greenery starting to appear.
Solar panels and green roofs. What's next for this ever-evolving place?
The old roof behind me is where the lion Simba, also known as Sim, used to have a house back in 1929.
In 1928, the Milwaukee Public Museum director, Dr. Samuel A. Barrett, and travel director, Carveth Wells, along with others, ventured off to the Cudahy-Massey expedition to Africa. The Maasai people had found an orphan lion cub that had been slightly burned by a brush fire. This little cub was the irresistible love they could not leave behind, so they were able to adopt him from the tribe as the new mascot. Simba means lion in Swahili, but they usually called him Sim for short. They say that Sim thought he was one of the humans because he grew to be so domesticated. One day, Sim had a visitor come and wrestle with him, his old friend from the expedition, Carveth Wells. Sim ultimately won the match and pinned Wells even at his young age.
This is the hall where Sim would get his exercise. A person would stand at either end and roll a bowling ball back and forth for him to chase.
It was after that they realized a bowling ball was not an appropriate toy for a young lion. Sim had gotten an injury from the bowling ball and had to go for immediate dental surgery at the zoo. The zoo is where he would spend the rest of his life. Still being visited by old friends and being very domesticated, he lived a long life there. He passed away of old age in 1943. That's not where we leave him, though. Simba returned to his home, the Milwaukee Public Museum, and was taxidermied and put on display as a wild African lion. He is here among some of his native African displays to honor his origins. He can still be visited today here at the new museum location, across the street from the library. So next time you come to the Milwaukee Public Museum, be sure to stop by and say hello to our beloved Sarah.
The North Point Lighthouse is located in Milwaukee's Lake Park. I'm about to go inside the lighthouse and check it out. I'm really curious to find out the history of this place. There's so much mystery surrounding it. I know that this lighthouse wasn't the first one on the site. The original lighthouse was built in 1854 of Cream City brick, but it was on the other bluff. This one was built in 1888. That's still a really long time ago. And did you know that the same man who designed Central Park, Frederick Law Olmsted, was the same guy who designed and built Lake Park? Around this lighthouse. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Let's go find out some more. This bell came from a ship that sank in Lake Michigan. This map shows some of the lighthouses around Milwaukee. Not surprisingly, there's even history of pirates on the Great Lakes. This is a clamp for a barrel hoist that came off of an old ship. Right here is between the keeper's quarters and the lighthouse. It's like a little hallway. They've got a lot of old stuff around here. Wow, I just found out some really amazing stuff inside. History that I didn't even know existed. This lighthouse definitely has mysterious things going on. The most interesting thing to me was the story about this woman named Georgia Stebbins, who in the 1800s manned the lighthouse for 30 years. Not only that, but she came here from New York because she had been diagnosed with tuberculosis. And back in those days, that was pretty much a death sentence. So how did a woman with tuberculosis, in a day when women weren't allowed to work or vote, man a lighthouse for 30 years? I have to find out more. Before I show you what I saw in the lighthouse, we're going to talk to Mark, the curator of the museum. So I was able to get an appointment with the curator, Mark, and he's going to tell me more about Georgia. I'm really looking forward to finding out more of this mystery. Let's go.
Hi, Sarah. Mark Keene. I'm with the North Point Lighthouse. I'm the curator here. Welcome. Come on in.
Thank you. So, Georgia, what an amazing woman.
She was, and there's great stories about her. So if you like, we can sit down and I can tell you all about her.
I would love that. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Okay, let's go.
Ready?
Georgia Stebbins was our longest serving keeper. She lived here from 1888 until 1907. She was originally from New York. Her father was the keeper here in Milwaukee at the time she was living in New York. In 1873, she was diagnosed with what they call the consumption or tuberculosis. So in those days, they thought fresh air would help a tuberculosis sufferer. So they sent her out to Wisconsin. She moves in with her father, her parents, and finds out her father's health was failing and couldn't take care of the lighthouse anymore. So she took over for lighthouse keeping duties at the original lighthouse in around 1881. She was our first keeper in this house in 1888 when it was built, and our longest serving keeper until 1907. Her son Albert was born here and raised in this house. Her two grandsons were both born and raised in this house also. She was also a very avid gardener. Now, when Lake Park became a park in around the 1890s, she had already been here. So she became an attraction of sorts. People would picnic on her front lawn, and she would invite them in to join, to walk up and climb the tower and look out the tower. But when it came around dusk, she chased everybody out and got back to her duties. Her duties started around dusk, where she would have to go outside to the oil house, bring in the mineral oil, measure it on a drip pan, put it into the vessel, and also take one of the hurricane lamps up to the top of the tower. She would have to do this every 4 hours until dawn, every day. We estimated the time that she lived here, she climbed those lighthouse stairs 63,800 times. So it was pretty impressive for someone that was suffering from tuberculosis. I think, that we talked about, healing properties. When someone is doing something good for someone, I mean, she was responsible for the lives of the mariners out on the lake, and they depended on her. And I think that gave her a lot of self-worth too. She had to become, she was, kept that light on so people could get home. Mariners could get to port. Immigrants coming here from another country were counting on that light being lit, so the ship captains knew where the shoals were and where the port was. People don't realize the importance of a keeper, and especially Georgia, being a mother, being a wife, having responsibilities of the family. I think she realized that. Lake Michigan is a very large lake. It's deep, and storms will come up very fast on this lake. In the days of sailing ships, schooners and sailboats, you were at the mercy of the wind. And so when a storm would blow up and you would have issues, there was a lot of ships that sank. There's close to 2,000 wrecks on Lake Michigan alone. A lot of them are by storm and or faulty ship, bad navigation. But so there is a lot of bad things can happen out on that lake, especially in the time of the early days of sailing ships. In an age where women were not allowed to vote, it was another incredible thing that she had so many responsibilities. She did the work where men were usually used to doing. There were very few women lighthouse keepers. We are asked a lot of times, is this place haunted? No, it's not haunted. It's a place where good happens. It has a good sense of togetherness and good vibes coming in here. If there ever was a ghost, I would wish it would be Georgia Stebbins. I'd love to sit and meet with her and talk with her and have her tell me about her life, because I'm sure it was just a very exciting life to live in those days as a woman, as a keeper, as a mother, as a wife. And there's a lot of wonderful things about her that I would really love to hear. I think the exercise of climbing the stairs in the fresh air was something that benefited her and her ailment, and she overcame it because, again, she lived here until 1907. She died in 1921. So she was, a pretty active person. Late last fall, we were having a lecture series here. John Gerda was speaking about the lake, and I was on my way down here to the lighthouse to set up when I pulled into the driveway and noticed there were several sheriff's cars, ambulances, fire trucks in our driveway and down at the front of the lighthouse. When I got here, I walked down and found out there was a semi stuck between the two bridges, the two lion bridges. The driver was still in the truck, and I went over and I talked to the sheriff that had stopped him and asked him what happened. He said that he had gotten lost and got across one of the bridges and was trying to navigate around the path and struck the other bridge abutment and stopped. The police officer did a sobriety test on him, and he was not intoxicated, but he had a very low blood sugar count, so he was a little disoriented. The driver's story was that his GPS told him that this was the way to go. And going across that, navigating across that bridge, it was like threading a needle to get across that bridge.
I find it very mysterious that the driver said his GPS guided him here, since GPS was ultimately what put this lighthouse out of commission. The architectural history of this lighthouse is unique. The only lighthouse built out of 3 different lighthouses. The original was built in 1888, and then in 1912, because the tree line was getting so high, they decided to build this addition to make it taller. The top is from the original lighthouse that was built on the site back in 1855. I'm about to go climb up those steps. You ready to come with me? Let's go. Well, I'm almost to the top of the lighthouse, and boy, do I have to stop for a second to catch my breath. These spiral steps seem to go on forever, and the air is definitely getting thinner up here, but I'm sure it'll be worth it once I get to the top. I can't wait to see what it's gonna look like from up there. Well, I made it to the top of the lighthouse, and as you can see, the scenery up here is just spectacular. You can see the 2 ravines on either side, and the lake is just gorgeous from up here. This place has been here for over 100 years, and I'm glad that I get to come up here today. Could it have been the negative ions in the air here that healed her? I'm still left with a lot of questions, because the history and mysteries surrounding this place are really intriguing. If you come and visit this historic museum, make sure you take the tour to find out more and get a view from the lighthouse that you've never seen before. This has been History and Mysteries in Milwaukee. I'm Sarah Stangle.